My invitation for you this week, what if you remembered the love you are? I cannot wait. So let's get started.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human and spiritual worlds through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back, or welcome to I'm Perfectly Divine podcast. I am a little delayed this week, but I think you're going to be excited as to why that is, because what I've been doing behind the scenes is developing something very special for you. And I've got these 3 emotional embodiment reprogramming journeys that you can access. The link is in the show notes. So I just want you to know I've been working on something for you. And today I'm going to talk about what if you remembered the love that you are, and these journeys are going to help you do that. But I want to really begin with this sense of you just taking a moment to breathe into that question. What if you remembered the love that you are, and you could live from this place more and more often? That is what excites me about our emotions, because to me, this is why we have been given this gift of emotions. And they are a gift when we know how to work with them. And the thing is like, it's just remembering to allow our emotions to be the gateways that they were meant to be. They are gateways to help us remember and reclaim the love that we are. But that's not what we've been taught. And this is why I am so passionate about teaching a loving, empowered, embodied path to relating to our emotions. Because for myself, for those that I've worked with, what I know is that we forget. I know I do. I forget the love I am. And I get caught up in some storyline of my ego, some old way of relating to things. And my emotions are there. This loving companion that's there saying, wake up from this living dream or nightmare sometimes that the ego has created, that I'm walking. Wake up and remember your truth. That, to me, is the love that is always present in everything that we feel. And this is also why I'm so passionate about the ancient texts that I've talked to you about, these texts that have started to be discovered in the late 1800s and the mid 1900s. Some people refer to them as the Gnostic texts. And these are texts that have held ancient wisdom that has been literally waiting to be revealed to us again. And they have resurfaced after being buried for almost 2,000 years. And so this is why this is such a magnificent time, because these texts date back to the same time frame as the texts of the New Testament. And these texts that were buried were forbidden from you and I. Why? Because they carry with them instructions on truly the whole point of our lives, which is to remember the love that we are. For you to remember the love that you are, for me to remember the love that we are, and how different life becomes the more that we can support one another to remember the love that we are. So, for instance, in the Gospel of Thomas, I'll just read this one bitty quote of why I feel that our emotions are there for us innately to guide us to remember the love that we are, and how these Gospels were referring for us to go back in to remember the way of love that is programmed, that is an innate blueprint within our hearts. So, Gospel of Thomas. If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you. And let me tell you, every time I read it, it sums up to me the state of our mental health crisis. And this is no one's fault. It is we are suffering because the exact way to bring forth what is within us has been so grossly misunderstood and turned against us. And so the way to bring forward what is within you is your emotions. And we are literally told over and over and over again not to trust our feelings and not to allow your emotions to rule your life. Don't allow emotions to rule your life. I've seen podcasts on this in 2025 this year. And what we hear from that and what we are led to believe by that is that our emotions are unreliable. They go up and down. They're passing energy that you should just sit with. They aren't spiritual. They're faulty. They're low vibe. They're untrustworthy, and they are a weakness. Do not allow your emotions to rule your life. And now look at how we have been brainwashed, especially women, to turn against ourselves and turn against our innate power. This innate power is in us, whether man or woman, doesn't matter gender. It's just understanding that we all have been brainwashed in this way, because this is exactly how we make people obedient to others and their rules other than our own truth. See, our emotions are dangerous because they tap us back into your truth. And when you are so tapped into your truth from a place of love, to skillfully know how to use this power, that's where you can't be controlled. Your emotions are literally guides for you to be disobedient to the lies that are fed to you from your ego. This is the whole point. We have these veils, we have these ego layers that we've all heard about. And when we learn to work with our emotions, they're guiding us to do exactly the opposite, basically, of what our egos want us to do. And they arise to awaken us all from the spell that makes you believe you are somehow not good enough and that your truth should not be trusted. Now, to be fair, it's understandable why we're afraid of the power of our feelings, because learning how to work with our emotions is a responsibility, and it's something that we have to gain skill in order to trust ourselves with. Again, it's a huge power coursing through us. This is not about emotional tantrums and drama. That is not what it means to use your emotions to know yourself. That is using your emotions for manipulation and blame and not taking responsibility. And so in last week's podcast, I talked about that we needed to learn how to emotionally regulate that as part of learning to be responsible with them, but we can't stop there. But this, our whether we have the skill to work with our emotions or not, does not make our emotions, our feelings untrustworthy. So I want to start to detach that incorrect assumption that the ways that that has been put upon us, that's just not true. What is untrustworthy is a society that has bamboozled us to believe that our emotions should not rule our lives. Your emotions should, which is exactly why it's vital to learn how to work with them, because you can only allow them to move you in ways that your mind would never agree to when you have a loving relationship with them. And that's exactly when you want your emotions to rule you, because they're ruling the way back to your heart. They're showing you the way back to love. To me, it's like a time when women and people of color weren't leaders because they were once considered innately lacking. And the reality of it was what they were lacking was the skill to be literate. And once they gained that skill set and they were accessing it, they were able to establish themselves as the right to lead. So there's nothing innately wrong with people. They just had to learn a skill set to be able to communicate and be able to read and write and all those pieces. Well, we need to reestablish that with our emotions. We need to reestablish our right to reclaim our emotions for what they are. And they are a gateway to know ourselves. And that's why we're here, to know the love that we are. And what it would be like for you to remember the love that you are, what it would be like for me to remember the love I am, what it would be like for all of us to remember. And each of us has the opportunity to do this. And every time we do, we feel that bliss within us that has nothing to do with the external circumstances around us. It just comes from within. And we get to experience that more and more as the divine's way of saying, yes, this is it. This is the right path. They are a gateway to know yourself. And with that, the love reclaimed from within you, reclaiming every bit of yourself as love. And then all bets are off, because now you are one who cannot be controlled by the external, because you found your internal power. You are so deeply connected to the internal love and power within you that this life force energy moves you in ways your mind would not deem as safe or appropriate. Now, your mind hearing this might start to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, Michelle, this sounds too crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to move through life in ways that aren't safe, that aren't appropriate. But let me just give you a real simple example how this worked. This moved me in a very, very simple, everyday way. And as well as what happens when I ignore it. So earlier this week on Sunday, I was at church, and a young woman, I'm guessing she was like 16 years old, was invited to play the piano and sing. And I shut my eyes and just listened, and just tears just started streaming down my face. I was just so moved. And then I hear this voice that says, you need to stand up and applaud her for her courage, for her following her truth, listening to her inner guidance, and remembering the love that she is, to step into her gifts, her talents, and be vulnerable. So, you're in church. The unspoken rules of church are that you sit, you nicely clap, and, you stay seated. But in this simple way, I just allowed spirit to move me beyond what is considered appropriate. And the first time I stood up, only my husband joined me. And then she sang again, and I stood up again. And this time it was just me. My husband didn't stand up, no one else stood up. And that's fine because this was spirit moving me. It doesn't have to be about anyone else. If spirit was moving me, speaking to me. And can I be in that awkwardness and stay true to myself and honor this girl in a way my spirit guided me to do and just trust that? And yeah, it was a moment where I felt a little awkward. And I will be honest with you, an older version of myself, and not too long ago, version of myself, would have sat down and either felt embarrassed or internally tried to justify my actions by either being putting myself down, making myself inferior. Oh my gosh, I'm a fool. What am I doing? All that, or superior. Oh, I'm just so spiritual that I just am able to listen to the divine working through me, and other people are too closed off. My ego will do both, and it has nothing to do with that. And so the gift in it for me was that I was able to just let any storylines go and not have any of that tension afterwards, and just recognize the way that my ego tries to dictate my life and forget the love that I am. And that's what our ego is doing. Not to harm us, but that's the exact pathway to actually remembering who we are. And that's why utilizing our emotions in this way is a practice of knowing ourselves and deepening our relationship to the divine within us. And so moving, how spirit told me to move, was a way of honoring this young woman who has the courage to move in the way that her spirit told her to move. And I just had to honor that, and that's it. So to me, it's a vital practice, both spiritually and emotionally, to practice working through this with this energy to move us. Because at least for me, what I know is there are still times I shut it down. There's still times I bite my tongue. There's still times I ignore the voice because whatever it's asking me to do, I'm just not there. I'm not ready. I don't want to. And the only way I work through that is coming back to this energy moving through me in uncomfortable ways and taking the human actions to gain the skill and learn to trust this energy innately. And it's a practice. That's how we learn the difference between the voice of our essence and the voice of our ego. And the voice of our essence is always for your highest good and the highest good of all. It's being willing to take a stand for whatever moves you. And these seemingly little ways are preparation for the bigger ways, right? And it feels very important for me to stand here now, vocalize this now, and honor this, because as I look back on my life, I deeply know this energy. And I refer to this voice within as the voice of her. It was a voice coming through my emotions that was guiding me off a path that wasn't my authentic path to take. So one of the biggest times was when I was engaged to someone and he met all the, checklists that I thought I wanted in a partner. And but internally I did not feel seen by him. He wasn't my person, right? And so we were engaged, we had the date set, we had, I don't know, the place set, and I broke off the engagement because this force within me, and again, it feels like a feminine, emotional powerhouse, said, no, I'm not doing it. I don't care if the checklist, screw the checklist. I got to listen to my heart, right? And 3 weeks later, that's when I found my true soulmate, my husband, who I've been married to for 26 years. This voice also was with me when I was getting my degree in clinical psychology. This was the voice that guided me to go outside a traditional therapy role, and there's nothing wrong with being a traditional therapy role. We need that. But my calling was something different. And I was being guided by this voice that was learning about life coaching and spiritual coaching and all this stuff before it was even a thing. Like when I told people I was a coach, they thought I meant like for basketball. I'm like, hello, I'm 5'3". I'm not a basketball coach. Like people just did not know what it was. But this has been my passion. This is what has been able to take me on such a different trajectory than my mind could even comprehend. This is the love that is in that life force energy that is trying to work its way through us. And to do that, we have to trust our emotions and this energy. So this is the exact spiritual energy that moves you into the unknown in your life, exactly to learn to more deeply, truly know yourself. And through all the seemingly twists and turns that appear so random, they are being divinely orchestrated for you to remember the love you are. So we fear this. We've been taught to fear it. We have a history of what happens when we listen to it. I think of people, leaders, women who have followed this energy and what happened to them, not because the energy led them astray, but what people in power did with it. So the biggest example that I can think of is Joan of Arc. She listened and led the French to victory. And she was like, what, I don't know, 14 years old? And listened to this energy. And she was protected and she was guided and she was able to lead armies through this energy, a 14-year-old girl. The danger was what the people in power were going to do with someone who wasn't following the rules, who wasn't following what society expected of her. And so the energy within her wasn't wrong. It's the people in power who had to murder someone who could tap into this energy. Even though she saved a nation, they murdered her because that is how much of a threat this energy is. Because you're not going to follow the rules. You're going to follow your heart. You're going to remember the love you are. So let's just be clear that the issue is not our emotions. It's a society, a world that doesn't honor them and therefore doesn't learn how to skillfully work with this internal power. Because we need this internal power for your highest good and for the highest good of all. And it's calling us now at this time because it's so needed. So we've been taught to turn against this immense internal power because it's innately feminine. And this feminine power is scary for those who want to control over you, exactly because it is a power that cannot be contained when it's tapped into skillfully through the innate love that you are. So while I do believe our emotions are this feminine aspect that we all have access to work with in order to know ourselves, to do so skillfully requires the union of the healthy feminine and the healthy masculine. It's a healthy feminine aspect that teaches us how to listen and to understand the signal, the message of each feeling. And it's the healthy masculine that knows how to take the empowered and inspired action based on this feminine insight. And so with the healthy feminine and masculine working together in divine union to guide us, we awaken to our truth with trust. We respond rather than react. And we become an unstoppable force of love. I mean, if we look at the divine examples of love that have been given to us, this is what they're doing. They are uniting the feminine and the masculine. to awaken to our truth and to be an unstoppable force of love. That is you. That is who you are. So I want to be clear as I share this that this is not some sort of pathway to be holier than thou. For me, I believe the reason why emotions come forward so strongly is exactly because I get so caught up in some ego storyline that isn't my truth. My emotions keep coming forward because I forget. And I bet you forget. We all forget. And there is absolutely no shame in that. There's simply more love for ourselves. Like, this is literally how we learn to be more loving and compassionate for ourselves and one another, because we all forget. We keep forgetting. And then we get to remember. And then we get to apply the skill and we practice the skill. And that's how we build upon the love, the remembrance of the love that we are. So thank goodness we have this innate GPS telling us to wake the F up. And with each unique emotion, we are not just being awoken like, yo, you are living in a nightmare that you have created based on your ego. We are given the exact guidance based on the unique emotion that you're experiencing of what you need to do in order to awaken back to your truth. You feel guilt? Here's the step that's going to awaken you back to your truth. You feel frustrated? It's a different step. And this is the expansiveness of love that we get to experience when we allow it to move us. This is the path of remembering the love that you are. And honestly, it just takes practice, just more and more practice. And that's what I'm doing. And that's also what I'm inviting you to do along with me, which is why when I started this, I said, I've got something juicy for you. I've got something exciting for you. And it's really a way for you to learn how to practice with this energy for free. So what I've been working on behind the scenes is these emotional embodiment reprogramming journeys. I know they sound juicy because they are, because I want you to experience what it's like to receive your emotions and have it work together, mind, body, spirit, and emotion, and allow yourself the journey of anchoring this into your being. And so these journeys make it safe. These are sacred transmissions that have come through that allow us to remember the love that you are. So the link for you to get your hands on these 3 journeys, they are for you, that you can keep practicing with them, is michelleburcell.com /emotional embodiment. So it's going to be in the show notes. Please check it out, share it with your friends, because then we all get to practice. And then there's an opportunity, if you want to keep bringing this forward with other emotions, you're going to be able to do that as well if you want to keep deepening your relationship with your emotions in this embodied way. So let's keep practicing together. I can't wait to hear what you think. Please know, until next time, there is nothing to prove or fix, just to remember.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.